Hi guys, and welcome to my review of One Piece chapter 894. Sorry that I was late, but I was ill and obviously that was not gonna work because I was coughing and I couldn't speak, so well. I don't know if I'm gonna do videos for the other chapters, but if I do, it's still gonna be just reviews. Because spoilers are a thing, so I just read the chapters in my own time, and that was quite nice doing that for a change for One Piece. I haven't read a chapter since I was in Japan, just not live reaction, so that was a new experience for me, weirdly. But this chapter had a lot of good things. It was really, really good. Unsurprisingly, I am not most interested in Gear 4's the Snake Man thing that we're gonna talk about later. That's not the highlight for me in this chapter, but we're gonna talk about that by the end because I'm gonna save the Luffy stuff because obviously I want to talk about my baby last. I do that for everything. So let's start about some other appearances we have, because while the chapter is mainly focused on Luffy, we have a bunch of other appearances. Like, stuff is really going down here. The first thing I want to talk about, just to get it out of the way, is that we have Snack's, I believe, first appearance. I don't think we've seen him before. We just have him mentioned. We don't really get to see his face. He's very much just in kind of shadow mode. His bounty is lower than I expected, 600 million. Just a little bit above Luffy, so I'm just gonna assume he was the weakest of the Sweet Commanders. And he had that little, the worst generation, because obviously he had his little brawl with Rouge, so obviously he's not gonna be really happy about Luffy messing stuff up, because that'd probably bring back some bad memories for him. But I want to see more of him. I want to see what kind of person he is, just because that would get us closer to a character like Rouge, who we barely know anything about. Like, yeah. We don't really know much about him. We like to think we know much about him, but we don't. But speaking of the commanders, I want to talk about Smoothie as well, because obviously she made an appearance. And she has this thing where she grows really tall. You can see her sisters, who she was introduced with a couple of chapters ago, and she's just way taller than them now. And I'm just wondering if that's part of her Delphoid ability, because obviously she can suck in moisture. So if she sucks in moisture, does that make her bigger? I don't know if we've seen that before. I do not recall us seeing that, or her growing bigger. Maybe we have and I just didn't notice, but I do not remember that being a thing. But I'm just gonna assume that it's part of her Delphoid ability, or because Big Mom, of course, wants her children to get bigger. It could be part of some weird experiment and it just worked on Smoothie, but I'm just gonna, because it works kind of, you can find ways to make it work with her Delphoid ability, I'm just gonna assume that's it. Because it's not gonna be like an attribute you give to the Long Leg tribe, I'm not gonna assume. So it has to be some sort of other special ability, probably her Delphoid, but I would not I would not be opposed to thinking that it's some kind of science experiment, because we know what Big Mom wants to do to her children and other people. So yeah, I think that's interesting, also because we're getting to see more of her. She seems to be the main opponent right now for the Straw Hat crew currently led by Jinbei. So that's gonna be interesting. I hope we're gonna see some sort of fun fight there, because the one-on-one fights have been pretty much non-existent. At least as of proper fights, like proper one-on-one fights, I think we've had Luffy versus Katakuri and that's it. But other than that, it's mainly been like some fight and then flee and a few like unsuccessful fights. But I would like to see another team fight, because I feel like it's been a really long time since we've had a proper team fight. One of my favorite parts of One Piece is when they team up together. One of the reasons that I really like Thriller Bark is because they have that really great teamwork. So yeah, I really hope we're gonna see more of that, because we have seen them work more together when they were up against Big Mom a couple chapters ago. I thought that was really cool. And just I want to see them utilize the fact that they know each other really well. And if Carrot's about to become part of this crew, it would be really nice to see her work more with them, especially because when earlier on she basically soloed it and then was out for a while because obviously she was really tired. So it would be really great to see her work a little more with them, other than just her working with Chopper as she's done mostly in this arc. Yeah. So I would like to see that because I don't think any one of them would be able to take on Smoothie, and since they have a whole fleet coming for them, or like half a fleet or whatever, it would make more sense for them if they have to fight to work together. And I think that would be really nice. I really hope for stuff like that because I think that's what's gonna get them through Wano at least, so it'd be great to kind of see like a prelude to that now. What's my next note? Right, Capone and Chiffon. We see them briefly. And I think it's really sweet that they're still doing all of this just so that they get Big Mom away from the Straw Hats. I think it's really nice just seeing Chiffon's what's the word? My English is failing me. Just seeing her resolve just to get her as far away, like, oh, we can't just go to Liquor Island, we have to go to this other island, which I forgot what it's called, because then even if she eats the cake, she might just go after them and she might just make it to Cacao Island. And I thought that was really smart of her to think that way, even though the more that they are carrying this cake and not just dumping it off the next island they find, the more they're putting themselves at risk, and they are aware of this, but they still do it as best as they can, and I think that's really nice. But this also means that whoever had that really clever idea of them setting Liquor Island on fire, that probably won't happen unless they change their strategy and are like, oh, if we do this, maybe we can buy some time. But yeah, but either way, that theory was really cool. It would have been really fun to see them just light an entire island on fire. Okay. So lastly, before we get to Luffy, is Sanji, and that kind of ties in with Luffy, because his goal now is to go save Luffy, and obviously I don't think he's gonna come interfere with Luffy versus Katakuri. First of all, that'd be nearly impossible because he has to fight himself like through all of these people who were introduced in this chapter, like the 31st to 38th children of Big Mom or whatever, plus a couple of others, and just the entire island of Cacao City, or island, that would be nearly impossible. So what I think Sanji's goal here is basically when Luffy pops out of the mirror after he's defeated Katakuri or whatever, however that fight is gonna go down, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that later, he's basically like gonna pop in and just get Luffy out of there, and he might have a fight with someone, I mean, because we have a commander there, we have Oven there, who is kind of on and off whatever he's doing, and yeah, obviously I don't think Sanji's gonna be able to take down everyone who's there, so maybe this is where the Bean Smokes come in and help us out, because we haven't seen them for some time now. And I know we still have the fishmen, but just because they have a role which is just like with the surveillance snails, it's okay if we don't see them ever again, because at least it seems like they're doing something. But the last time we saw the Bean Smokes, they were just like standing there doing whatever. So they're definitely gonna have to play a role, and it would make sense for that role to be tied into whatever Sanji's doing, because obviously their storylines, they're kind of like one thing. So yeah, I'm expecting for the Bean Smokes to make their appearance here now, because like we haven't seen them for a while, and I always ask like, where are the Bean Smokes? When are we gonna see them? Where are we gonna see them, here or here? But it seems more likely that it's gonna be here, just because it's Pudding and Sanji by themselves going to this place where a lot of people are, and Sanji will probably have to carry Luffy out there, because Luffy's not gonna be able to walk after this fight. There's just no way. This fight is crazy. But let's talk about Luffy now, because that's definitely the most interesting part of the chapter. Let's get Gear 4th out of the way first, because I'm not gonna say it's not interesting, but compared to what I value in One Piece and what I like about chapters, this was definitely not gonna be the most interesting thing for me. Also, because just the sheer the sheer surprise of reading a chapter and he's seeing like, oh, Gear 4th, Snake Man. That would be really cool, except I got like 1,000 spoilers when I tried to avoid them, so it was like, okay, I know what's gonna happen. So everything else for me was more surprising than the end of the chapter. That doesn't mean it's not cool, and I'm definitely interested in seeing how this is even gonna work, cause... but this, I think, blows a hole in the theory that the 3 form that he probably has, that was the theory, that he has 3 forms and they're based on the 3 animals he were with on the island he trained with Rayleigh on. But I do not believe a snake was one of them. I think it was like a lion, a crocodile, and a boar or gorilla or something like that. I do not believe a snake was one of them. But it's a nice shout out to Hancock and like her snake tribe. I think that's very nice. 'Cause I really hope he's like he's drawn inspiration from them, even if he hasn't spent that much time with them. We don't know, but I don't think he actually has. I think they were very clear about, oh, it's been 2 years since we've seen him. But he might have, we don't know. It was still their island. But yeah, I am really interested in seeing what he's gonna look like. 'Cause Snake? I mean, 'cause how does attacking go with Snake Man? How would maneuverability go? Like, there are possibilities here. I'm waiting for people to draw fan art of this. But what I'm interested in when it comes to Luffy is obviously the first part of the chapter where him and Rayleigh are discussing observation hockey and how Luffy's not really understanding it and getting it down. And you have those scenes where Luffy is like, I sense rage and I sense blah blah blah, and Rayleigh's like, oh, you're really good at like sensing emotion, and that too is a part of observation hockey, and it might be something you do unconsciously, but you're really good with the emotions and stuff. And I've talked about this before. I'm really happy with this, that because I made those 2 Luffy analyses, and ever since I've made those videos, everything I've said had just been validated by Oda. I'm so happy. Because people really doubt when I say, oh, Luffy's really smart. Because that's not how he's displayed as a character. But this what Rayleigh's talking about here is exactly what I mean. And I use those terms too, emotional intelligence. Which is not the terms that Rayleigh's using here, obviously. But it is what he's talking about. And I just really, really like that. Because that is one of Luffy's strengths, that he understands people and he knows what they're feeling and what to do for them when they're feeling either sad or angry or whatever. Like, it's how he, like, it goes back to Arlong Park when Nami told him to just leave and he didn't. He waited for her to say, help me, because he knew that was what she was feeling, but he wasn't gonna do anything until she requested that he help him, because otherwise that would be like intruding on her feelings. And I just think that's very, very nice to see that this is still something that we're bringing up, and Oda's like really, really making sure we understand Luffy as a character for those few people who still haven't gotten it. And I'm not saying it's like, oh, you're really dumb if you never thought Luffy was emotional intelligence, because it is hidden beneath layers of comedy and him being a goofball and stuff like that. But I'm really happy that we're getting this side of Luffy shown to us, and that because Rayleigh is really good at highlighting Luffy's strengths. Every time, this is the reason I really love Rayleigh flashbacks, because every time we get them, Rayleigh is able to highlight everything that's really good about Luffy, everything that's really good about his fighting style, and all the good qualities there is in Luffy as a person, which makes sense to why Rayleigh chose him as a disciple. Because there aren't a lot of people out there in the series who point out Luffy's qualities like that, but Rayleigh does, because he needs to teach Luffy. So he needs to teach Luffy the values, or he needs to teach Luffy not just about himself, but also like how he can use these different parts of himself, and how everything just works. And just, yeah, it's like with the observation haki, like you can do this with observation haki, but you need to be able to learn this as well, and it's just really great, everything. I just yes. That's what made this chapter for me, just the Rayleigh part here. It was just, it was really good. And we also have that little part where Luffy says that he won't eat, which is, it's a really nice, I don't want to call it a throwback since it's a flashback, but it's a little nudge to the beginning / middle of this arc where he went on the hunger strike. I think that's really nice to see his resolve like that, like, and it was also really funny comment when Rayleigh said, like, your enemy's not gonna care if you're hungry, like, you guys just have a fight and eat, because Luffy has done that. Luffy has definitely, in the middle of a fight, started eating. He brings food with him everywhere so he can eat whenever. But that's not gonna work in the long run. And obviously, lastly, here we have Rayleigh talking about, like, or Rayleigh and Luffy discussing, like, oh, but, I mean, I'm gonna judge a person, like, by who they are. I'm gonna see what kind of person they are before stuff. And it's just, I really like that, because Rayleigh's like, oh, I've never considered, like, taking their personality into account, and Luffy's just like, yeah, obviously I'm gonna do that. Because Luffy's the kind of person, like, he might be up against an enemy, but he's still gonna acknowledge their worth if they're a good person. Like with Katakuri, he definitely respects Katakuri, and he understands that while they're on opposite sides, that's just the way it's gonna have to be, because they have different objectives, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Katakuri is not a person that Luffy wouldn't, under other circumstances, get along with, unlike with Crocodile, or Doflamingo, or Akainu, or Lucci, or Anil, or other of those really big villains. Like, those were people that Luffy were like, I have a reason to hate you. You did something really bad, and I do not stand for that. Where with Katakuri, it's like, oh, we fight because we have different objectives. Because Luffy does understand that what they did was intrusive. They've stolen poneglyphs, they crashed a wedding where, yeah, obviously it was an arranged marriage, but they've definitely done something that, it's not unfair for the Big Mom pirates to be, okay, let's fight you and try to kill you. Because they are pirates, obviously this is a part of the job. So unlike with Crocodile, Doflamingo, or Enel, where they attack innocent people, which Luffy doesn't really stand for in the same way, this Luffy can understand. This Luffy can get behind, because they're pirates attacking pirates. So that's a fair thing. And it's really great, because under other circumstances, I think Katakuri and Luffy could be, maybe not really good friends, but they could definitely get along and have some really fun times. I don't know. It would be really nice for them to have, like, a chill conversation, which is kind of how I imagine the fight is gonna end. I do imagine, I'm back to the thing where Luffy's definitely gonna make Katakuri, like, lie down, because that's a thing that never happens, apparently. I think it's gonna be, like, an almost tie, like, a slight victory for Luffy, but then maybe not quite. I mean, it's definitely gonna help that Katakuri stabbed himself. But I do think it's gonna end with, like, a conversation, after Luffy has won, I suppose. And then with Luffy kind of, like, jumping out of the mirror and Sanji being there, and then they can go back to the sunny together, and it's gonna be a really nice ending until we get to Wano, where everything would just go to shit. But, you know, until then, I hope it's gonna be really nice. It's not gonna be nice, but a girl can hope. Anyway, I think that was all I wanted to talk about. I really love Luffy. I think he's great. Also, just a slight announcement, I guess. Just let's talk about how I do these videos, because I know a lot of you, especially when I do my live reaction, are like, oh, don't use manga stream, they don't have good translations and blah blah blah. And especially because they've been really behind in their translations lately. Obviously you're gonna go to other translations, So what I'm gonna do is that when it on Fridays, I'm gonna set Fridays probably as the day that I do videos, just because it's easier for me to have a set day where I can do it. So what I'm gonna do is that if there are no chapters on Manga Stream, I'm gonna do my live reaction and my review based on Jaimine's box. Is that how you pronounce it? If there is a chapter on Manga Stream, I'm gonna do the live reaction on the Manga Stream chapter, but then I'm gonna read the Jaimine's box for the review so that I have both translations. And the reason that I'm using Manga Stream is because I know that most people use that, even though like a lot of you will be like, oh, but it's not the best translation. That doesn't mean that most people don't use it. And for a live reaction, I prefer using the site that most other people use, so that if you want to pull out the chapter with me, it's like it's easier for you to follow along, and it's the translation you read as well, even if you don't pull out the chapter. So that's why. But I'm gonna do the thing where I'm just gonna go back and read the chapter again, because obviously I always miss stuff, so I'm gonna have to reread the chapter anyway. So I'm just gonna use a different translation for the review if I'm doing the Manga Stream for the live reaction. Is that something we can all agree on? It's a good format, just so you understand why I'm doing this, because like I always get like at least 1 or 2 comments every time on my live reactions like, oh, don't use this translation, it's not a good translation. And I get it, like the Manga Stream translation have been a bit iffy for One Piece for some time now, and also for a couple other things. I still think it's good for Haikyuu, but that's because the other site that does Haikyuu, or did Haikyuu, wasn't really that good. But I will say this, I don't think Manga Stream is as bad as people make it out to be, because it's when they make mistakes, it's very easy to catch that they made a mistake, and it's very easy to understand that they meant something else. And also they're recruiting new translators, so let's see what happens. But obviously always go to the official translation if you have access, because that's gonna be better than everything else we can find. But yeah, that's the format for now. So I'm gonna use Jaimine's box, unless it at some point goes to shit and people are like, oh no, this new site has better translations, I suppose. But still, yeah, I'm just gonna alternate between them. It also just gets better when you have 2 translations, because like you're never gonna get like the best translation ever from either of the sites. Like that's just not gonna happen, because they have less time to work on it, and obviously it's not their daytime job. So and it's nothing against them, it's just like they don't actually have the time to work on this like the actual translators have. So getting 2 perspectives is always a good thing. One Piece will be the only manga I'll be doing this for, I think, just because I think just in terms of writing, it has the most, yeah, it's more important, I think, to get a good translation for something like One Piece rather than for something like Haikyuu or Shokugeki no Soma. Boku no Hero is debatable, but I'm just gonna assume that if Manga Stream has like a really, really bad translation, that you're gonna correct me, so yeah, that's it. I'll maybe do more videos later, we'll see. But you can leave a like if you like anything that I had to say. I'm sorry that it was so long, but I had stuff to say. You can leave in the comments what you thought of the chapter, though. If you have ideas for what Gear 4th may look like, because I know a lot of people will be really excited for that, you can leave those ideas in the comments. I will be interested in reading them. And you can comment on other things I said, stuff I didn't say, because I know I left stuff out, and a lot of new characters were introduced, and I did not have the energy to go through all of them. And you can subscribe if you want to, and until Friday, bye!